everybody, and thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be discussing the big three in your birth chart. If you enjoy the conversation, please feel free to give me a like and subscribe. So in the realm of astrology, we all have a birth chart based on exactly the day and time and location that we were born. So most people are very familiar with what is your sun sign, and your sun sign is where the sun was or is at your time of birth. So for example, I was born September 25th. That falls into Libra. You were born September 19th, and that falls into Virgo. So there's 12 astrological signs in the year. So starting with Aries, and then, moving forward and finally ending in Pisces, which then starts over again in Aries. So there's 12 signs. So that's generally what most people are very familiar with, right? Is your sun sign.
And most people know that from the beginning.
Yeah, like you're born, you're a Libra.
I'm 5 years old. I'm like, I'm a Virgo.
Exactly. And you read your horoscope, and you're reading the horoscope of your sun sign.
How many in junior high didn't read their horoscope in the newspaper in the 80s?
And it's exciting. And, but it's also, to think that there's only 12 signs that that you can be identified to, that, in my opinion, it's just too broad. Like
it's probably also limiting. Like
very limiting.
It's like they pinpoint you really closely. That's Remy.
Remy's going crazy in the background.
Remy's like, don't forget to talk about me.
It's because we're not paying you any attention. What's yours? Oh my gosh, I wonder what his
birthday
is. I don't know what his birthday is. But see, once again, what's his sign? And then you make this huge generalization on what his personality is based on his sun sign, right?
Yeah, is he a Pisces? Is he a Sagittarius?
Exactly. And then each sign, there's certain things. Like, for example, it's very general to say, Dana's a Virgo. Oh, I bet she's really organized and maybe anal.
She's not wrong.
Right? And then you could say, Sarah's a Libra. So she's probably really fun and is, likes everything to be really pretty around her, likes to find balance.
Yes.
Ultimately, that's true. But it goes so much deeper. What are you barking at? So anyway, much, much deeper than that. Yeah. So to take it one step further, your moon sign. And he knows his moon sign too, obviously.
Right, he's telling everyone.
So the moon moves through all 12 of these astrological signs in approximately one cycle, one month's time.
Yeah.
So every 2 to 3 days, the moon is going to move through these astrological signs. So with your sun sign, it's essentially like a month period that the sun is in. Like right now, the sun is in Libra, and then it's going to move to Scorpio. So each of those signs is 1 month. For the moon, it moves through the signs every 2 to 3 days.
So it's faster.
So it's faster because obviously the moon only cycles. It's essentially a month that the moon cycles from new moon back to new moon.
So it's only got a month to get through the entire.
So so finding your moon sign is actually pretty easy once you know your birthday. And I personally feel that I identify way more with my moon sign. I happen to be a Pisces moon, which is very different from a Libra. Right. And you're a Gemini moon, which is so different from a Virgo.
Right.
So what your sun sign is essentially, and what we talked about, it's these things that you embody about yourself. It's your persona, and it's just how you feel about yourself. Your moon sign is kind of who you are deep down, like in your soul, if you will, and it's how you behave when you're comfortable with someone. So it's like once you really get to know someone, you can really start picking out their moon sign traits, right?
So the moon sign, it's easy to sometimes when you first meet someone, sometimes it's easy to guess like, that person must be a Virgo. But the moon sign, you don't know that until you know them better.
You have to know someone. You have to be truly comfortable. Hi, buddy. Truly comfortable with someone to want to share those deeper parts about yourself, right? So often your moon sign, those are things you might want to hide to other people, right? It's like that's you in private. So that's what your moon sign is. Now, one step further beyond this is your rising sign. So your rising sign, now in order to properly identify your rising sign, you have to know your time of birth. It has to be pretty specific.
Yeah, isn't it like within
2
hours?
2 hours. And so here's the other reason is that what your rising sign is what sign is rising in the Eastern Hemisphere at your exact time of birth. So it's going to be like and I'm pointing east. No, that's west.
That's west.
I don't know. So east.
We can say that's the Atlantic Ocean.
That's the ocean. That's west. So that way. Anywho, so it's what sign is rising in the Eastern Hemisphere at your exact time of birth. And so the movement of that, it goes through all 12 astrological signs in a day's period, right? So that's where a lot of people don't know their rising sign if they don't know their time of birth. Now, we discovered that your birth time is actually on your birth certificate. Now, if you weren't born in the United States, I can't speak for that. I don't know if that's the case.
Or even if you were born, I mean, if you were born before a certain period of time, you may not know. You may not know because you may not have access to records.
Or, just the fact that our mother was always able to say, "Oh, you were born about this time."
Yeah, like
right?
she was a record keeper.
She was. And then we actually got really specific when we looked at our birth certificate. So that enabled us to just really kind of hone in and make sure that all that information was correct. Yeah. But so the way that you can do this is there is a website. My personal favorite is Cafe Astrology. And so you can just type it in and boom, up it comes. And you have to put your date of birth, your time of birth, if known, as well as your location of birth. And so essentially it's getting your time zone. Because that's, obviously if we were born on the East Coast, that's very different than someone born on the West Coast in terms of where the alignment of everything is. So once you plug that in, boop, you have the ability to get every element of your birth chart. Now today we're just talking about the big three because those are the very, very three important parts of who we are. So rising sign, what does that say about you? So what your rising sign is it's what I would call your first impression. So even though, hey, I'm a cool Libra, I'm a Capricorn rising. So when people first meet me, I come across almost more like a cold Capricorn than I would that easygoing Libra. And so that's kind of how, or another analogy is when you go on a first date, your rising sign is what you're showing your first date, right? You don't show them your moon sign, God forbid.
Never.
And a little bit of that sun sign energy is coming out. But that's kind of the detailing behind your rising sign.
So that's really the gut, like when you first meet someone, that's the gut reaction that you get is that moon sign.
Yes. Oh. And it's interesting because it's also been said that your rising sign also rules your physical traits. So like, for example, maybe your bone structure, your facial structure, your eyes, things like that.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So your rising sign kind of rules anything having to do with your outward appearance and how you portray yourself to the world.
Well, here's we can go further with that. We just went bathing suit shopping for me today.
Yes, we did.
Do those bathing suits speak at all to the fact that I'm a Capricorn rising?
The way you tried them on sure did. Well, actually between that and your Virgo, because, I would say, yeah, for sure. Because we walked around the whole shop. You kind of knew what you wanted because you did your research beforehand. You went on the website. Narrowed it down. So you knew what you wanted. So we went in there. You were not distracted by anything other than what you knew you wanted. We grabbed what you wanted. You went in the fitting room. You tried them on quickly, efficiently. Boom, I'm going to get these. Okay, bye. See ya. So yes, that was very Capricornian, also more Virgo. Yeah. Certainly not Gemini. A Gemini would have walked in and gone, oh, look at this. Oh, isn't this pretty? Oh, hi, can I talk to you for 10 minutes about nothing?
oh, I didn't come here for a dress, but let's try on 10 different dresses too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean that definitely speaks to who you are as a person, you know. And then me being, it's funny because we're both Capricorn risings, which I find to be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But I mean, my sun sign came out there because I was chatting it up with the person who was helping us and making the conversation while you're in there, you know, doing your thing.
When
So-
you were also helping me find the balance, like, well, why don't you just try this one on? You know, instead of writing it off, put it on and
Exactly.
see what happens.
Exactly. So, you know, and of course also the part about Libra would be finding beauty in any way that you can, right? Like making something look really nice when you put it together, or oh, look, you can put this with this. Doesn't that look pretty? And then the Virgo in you was doing all the analysis of, you were like, nope, I'm not trying that on because no, I'm just, you had to mentally be in the space and you knew what you wanted and you were like, nope. So, I mean, it's interesting because all three of those elements of ourselves really play such a huge part of who we are. So it goes so far beyond your sun sign, I guess would be the bottom line of this conversation.
Yeah, the sun
So-
sign doesn't tell the whole story.
It does not. And there's just so much more to find out about yourself. So as I mentioned earlier, there are 12 signs. And we have earth signs, we have air signs, we have fire signs, and we have water signs. And each one has its own unique elements about it. I mean, essentially they are elements, but you know, your earth signs, if you're heavy in earth, which you are actually, because you're a Virgo and a Capricorn.
I'm a double earth.
What that means is you're going to have a tendency to be more grounded or need to be grounded in your life, organized, just, you know, wanting to maybe create roots and needing that structure.
I'm kind of a homebody.
And you're, ultimately, yes. And,
Yeah.
and that's the idea behind an earth sign. Also, making really good decisions about your life and but you know, maybe having goals and having plans. That's very earth
Yeah.
energy.
We like to plan.
So the earth signs of the zodiac are going to be Taurus. I'm going to go right, Virgo and Capricorn. What am I missing? Taurus.
Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus.
Why am I totally
Sagittarius.
blanking right now?
Because you don't have a cheat sheet.
I know.
She's doing this without a cheat sheet,
I'm doing
everybody.
I am doing this without a cheat. Okay, so wait. Oh yeah, there is only 3. Who am I kidding?
See, she doesn't need a cheat sheet.
Okay, so then we go to air. So then your air signs, let's see if I can nail this right off the bat here. So your air signs are going to be Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Air signs are known for being, I mean, if you think of anything air, you think of birds flying, things in the breeze. So the idea behind an air sign is that, first and foremost, they're communicators. They love to talk. That's kind of their primary thing. But they sometimes have a tendency, if you're heavy in air, you might have a tendency to get lost in ideas, lost in theories, right? You have a tendency to just be floating. You might not need to have your feet grounded in, you know, a home that you've created. It could be, oh, I'm going to go spend a night at my friend's house. I'm going to, right? So
Yeah,
just
you're
giving
just
you a
moving
little bit of
around.
an example of how air signs are. Also, one trait that I know of myself and a lot of other air signs, we have no need to fold clothes. If we're like throwing things in drawer, nothing needs to be folded perfectly, or like a suitcase, mind you. No, there's no need for perfection in that aspect.
I bet your drawers would stress me out if I opened them.
They're really not that bad. They're not that bad.
I believe you, actually. I know you. You're not that disorganized or
No,
that
I'm not, because of
much
my
a mess.
Capricorn rising.
Right, she's this.
Okay, so then we go to the fire signs. Right out of the gate, Aries. They started off with fire. Then we go to Leo, and then we go to Sagittarius.
Sagittarius.
So fire signs are, when you think of fire, you think of like explosive energy, and that's it. They're passionate. They're very driven. they're often headstrong. I mean, these can be positive, negatives, everything I'm mentioning, right?
Yes.
If done to excess, right? But fire signs are also like, they could like get the party started.
Yeah.
And they're, you know, they can be the initiators and they come up with the ideas to, you know, get things going.
Right.
So that's the idea behind fire signs.
They light the flame.
They do. And one of the things about fire signs too is you kind of know where you stand with them. Like if they like you, they love you, and if they don't like you, they're like, I'm not wasting my time with you. It's not,
Right.
we're not worth it, right? And that's
kind of refreshing sometimes.
It is kind of
like you don't have to guess with a fire sign.
That's right.
You don't have to guess.
That's right. And then we come to water. So the water signs. Where are we going with this? Water signs. Let me think. I'm starting in
I'm thinking
Aries.
with-
Bloop, bloop, bloop.
Oh, you're-
Then
okay.
we go to Cancer. And then we go to Scorpio, and then Pisces.
Pisces.
So water signs are known for depth when we think of water. They like to protect themselves generally. Oftentimes very deep emotional, don't always like to show their emotions, but they're, when they have them, they have them.
Yeah.
As a Pisces moon, I can definitely speak for that. But
When it comes out, it comes out.
But there's also a softness too associated with the water signs. They're very loving, caring, family oriented. Like all of those
Yeah.
elements go into that water, that depth, that love. So, you know, it's interesting too when you're looking at your big three. What are the elements
Yeah.
of your big three? Because you have earth, air, earth. I have air, water, earth.
Ooh.
We're missing fire.
Yeah. There's
Between
no fire
us.
amongst us.
Yeah, which is good. We don't.
Yeah. And you've got a spread of everything. You've got a little bit of everything, almost everything. And
Exactly.
I've got
Yeah.
heavy on the earth.
Yeah, heavy on the earth. But I mean, I really do think that comes forward in your personality.
It does. Which
so
annoys the
it's-
crap out of my husband.
But it's just interesting too, because it's also. I remember when I first understood this notion of a moon sign. A moon sign. What's this?
Yeah.
And then you actually do the calculations. It's almost like opening your eyes to what you already knew existed, but you really didn't, because I was like, yeah, no, I'm a Libra. I'm a Libra.
Right, that doesn't track.
But, right,
Like, that's,
but then when you really start understanding the depth of who you are, and then even taking it a step further to Capricorn, that makes total sense for me. And it's just eye-opening, but it's a great way when you get this information about yourself. It's just a really great tool to understand who you are.
Yeah.
And also
fill in the blanks from what you've known. Like, you know your sun sign from the get-go, but then after all these years and you realize, like, all the things that you thought maybe didn't track with your sun sign, they make sense now.
Exactly.
Once you know your moon sign and your rising sign.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, that's where that comes from.
And so what the other element too is, you know, when the sun moves into all these different signs, it does, like I said, once a month, you're in your home zone. Like right now, I'm in my home zone because the sun is in Libra.
Yep.
And just last month, you were in your home zone. Yep. There's this idea that you might feel some comfort in that. When you're first kind of diving into your birth chart, you know, it goes a lot deeper than what we're talking about, but just to know what is called the big three. That's just a great starting tool. If you don't know your birth time, just understanding your sun sign and your moon sign, because it's really eye-opening to feel connected to your moon sign.
For sure.
And it ended up, like I said, it was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much more sense about who I am as a person. Mm-hmm. Like, no wonder I feel so deeply about things and sometimes have to cry in bed at night. I'm a Pisces. Moon. Okay. Thank you all for watching our conversation about the big three. And if you have any questions about what we just talked about, please feel free to put it in the comments section. And for this evening, we'll be signing off. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers!
Try not to look so sad. Yeah. Would you like to smell the twist off top? Oh, gee. See, Remy's like, I'm
I'm done with
I'm so annoyed.